let's bring on our first keynote of the day. And KunHee, I'm just going to ask you to share your video now, and we'll get started with our first keynote.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Good morning, KunHee. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm really excited. You know, day 3, we got to keep the energy level up and keep the engagement. No pressure. But this is a really exciting topic. Before we get into the topic, just quick introductions, KunHee. You know, just your background and your role.
Okay. Yeah, I'm KunHee Park, in charge of the Kocowa CEO and CPO. We started our business in Los Angeles 5 years ago. So we just started Kocowa service July 2017. So we are a joint venture company, and who made by 3 major broadcaster from Korea. So my career background is from the engineering. So I used to be a Cisco systems the engineering delivery manager. So yep. I covering the Asia Pacific region for the OTT and IPTV portfolio project. So I have such technical experience a lot. So I'm joining this company as a CTO beginning of the year. Then I was appointed as a CEO after 1 year.
Wow! Congratulations. That's fast progress.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. And you're based in LA, correct? You're Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah, headquarters is Los Angeles. Most of the technicians are working in the Seoul office. So we have some branch office in Latin America too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I do want to get into an introduction, but the elephant in the room that makes this really interesting. When we started this conversation a few months ago with your marketing team about having this keynote, we were talking about Korean content. It's kind of interesting, and what lessons could we take away broader for other types of content, for distribution, global distribution. And then this worldwide phenomenon called Squid Game just kind of exploded suddenly. So it's really eye-opening, quite frankly, for the possibilities out there and the boundaries between countries, the global boundaries for licensing and so on have all come down. And there are many different distribution paths now for global content. So that's kind of the focus what we're going to talk about. But I know you prepared an introduction for us. Do you want to share your screen and share that with the audience, please?
Sure. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
I can.
Okay, let me start from the video promotion clip. Okay. It was, our sponsor, promotion clip. So let me start for the, my presentation. So Kocowa is our brand name, so Kocowa stands for Korean Content Wave. So it's Kocowa. So somebody occasionally asks about the meaning of the Kocowa. So I can explain this. So who is Kocowa? We are American joint venture between the top 3 Korean broadcaster, KBS, MBC, SBS, and the Korean, one of the best telecommunication company, SK Telecom. Recently, they joining our shareholder. So we founded in the Los Angeles in November and 2016. We stream out Kocowa service the July 2017. So what's the Kocowa? So it's, I can say, Kocowa is such, premium English, subtitled content. So currently we have, some 18,000 hours content library. So it consists of drama, romantic comedy, variety series, and music show. So it's huge library impact, So 3 major broadcaster, they produce, a lot of the, content daily basis. So that's why we supply, brand new title every day. So you enjoy the, some brand new title in Kocowa service and Kocowa partner website daily basis. So we support, multi-platform across the devices, including the TV, PC, tablet, iOS, and Android. That we try to expand, our territory as far as we can. So before Kocowa, we have to understand the market status. So somebody said, recently K drama and K content pop up suddenly, but it's not true, in fact, So here were a bunch of the fandom before, but such kind of, popularity was not in the mainstream, especially in the state. But it used to be very popular. It used to be top, position in, Asia region last 20 years. So it was a, kind of panic, So Japanese audience and Chinese audience, they probably love a lot, much. So the K content used to be, top in Asia region, and K-pop was, more popular prior than, K content and drama. So okay, such fandom, increase, interest of the K drama. So it brings some, some much interesting in the K drama and K content too. Also, there is a, interesting in K passion and K beauty too, but it's not my area. I'm not such.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Mainstream investment. So this means, investment from the state. So that place, they recognize the importance of the Korean content. 10 years ago already, they started invest, something in Korea. So they try to acquire so many of the IP as far as they can, because of they recognize that is a kind of, stepper to go into the Chinese and Japanese market. So that is, very, they recognize, I guess, they recognize it is critical path to go into Asia market. So we got several challenges in US. So it was, Korean TV is just one of the many available international content. We were very tiny, and here are so many international content. So nobody recognized what K content is. So it was one of the trouble. So also there are a lot of the niche in the market, but such kind of, these were fragmented. So it is not easy to collect such kind of, fragmented user experience at once. So also here were a lot of the piracy service. So many people, they were struggling to find some proper title, which they look for. So they got so many, malware. So then, I didn't understand why they struggle to find some proper title at the time. So okay, there was, no proper subscription model. So most of the, available, Korean content service were pre-content based on, advertisement. So there is no, product packaging. The last one is, so there were a lot of the player. So that's why, it was very complicated distribution model. So the people cannot understand, cannot recognize who is the right person to get the, right title. So it brings some confusion. So content fragmentation led to new service platform to unify K-content experience. It was market niche, then became out. So initial strategy was, if you look at the left side, so it is still, our challenge. If you look at the right side, it's a kind of, it's a way to go. So if you look at the, how to overcome such challenge, so I just classify, so one by one. So from the brain point of view, I thought that we have to unify brand approach. So for the K content experience. So, and then I announced that platform is brand. So forget about any physical infrastructure. Forget about any, some existing, distribution model based on workflow. That's not platform anymore. So from now on, platform is brand, I emphasize. That's why we brought Kocowa here. Mm-hmm. It is our platform. Second thing is platform. It should be, robust backend platform to platform build to support various business cases. To show our Kocowa brand, strongly at one. So I have to, distribute, our, Kocowa to the many of the, funnel at once. To do that, I need to have very flexible, backend system. That means, the platform should be very flexible, and we have to build up the very strong backend system to meet any of the business, cases. So if you look at the left side, this is one of the example for our backend system. That we have very flexible, backend system to meet any of the business, workflow. So we can build up the, business workflow by the, manual, drag. If you drag the one box one by one, and then we can make some connection, and then finally we will get some deliverable, which we look for. Third one is, piracy. Yeah, so we have to collect such traffic at once into our service, Kocowa. So we just, provide, free VOD for 24 hours after broadcasting airing. It was, yeah, we look for some subscription model, but if we stick with the subscription model from the beginning, it is not easy to collect, some kind of, piracy traffic into our service. That's why, we just open up the brand new title during 24 hours after airing. Then, we try to collect such kind of piracy traffic into, our service. It works. It was very successful. We collected a lot of traffic within 24 hours. Every day they connect to our service. So, retention rate was so high. So also we provide high quality, acquisition and, localization too. In piracy service, they doesn't provide, high quality, subtitle, but we provide very high quality, subtitle. So then, so all the subscribers really satisfied at the quality of the subtitle and the metadata. Monetization, yeah, important. So we just pick and simple, package plan. We just unify same price anyway. So we don't provide many tiers. So make it simple. Kocowa is such a price. That's all. And we have very clear business model. So we are looking for some open platform approach. So we share our revenue to the content provider based on content performance. We provide some data ratio about watching time, something like that. But based on such kind of performance, we share the revenue to our content provider. So that means they get the statistics and the user profile from our platform. They understand how to produce their future title based on their performance through the Kocowa platform. So it was a very different approach from the mainstream service. Typically, mainstream service, they acquire exclusive title, then they never open such kind of title performance. But our approach is a little different with that approach. Then so we just open up. Hey, we will help you your future business development. So we will help you how to produce your title with some kind of insight. I hope this can help your insight. So from the content provider point of view, this is very important. So also we have very clear accounting system. Then so we open up the how to calculate the data revenue too. Okay, here is some our achievement last 5 years. So current market status. Yeah, everybody know Parasite movie and Squid Game. It is successful. So everybody keeps saying about some such a successful story. But as I told you, it's not certain phenomenon. So we have such kind of title in our library. So we have over 20 titles, which we have same actor, actress in our content library. So you can enjoy such title in Kocowa library service. The other thing is K8. So we still top position in Asia region. So the revenue is increased a lot. So K content market in Asia is going up because of such countries develop as time goes by. So there were a lot of the piracy service before, but also there were a lot of the advertisement based platform before. But as time goes by, many countries were developed. As their income increase, subscription based model is quite common. It brings some larger revenue in the market too. So mainstream service increase invest in the paid content too. So yeah, major mainstream operator invest much more than before. Disney Plus and also Netflix and Apple. They still try to acquire Korean content IP. Kocowa is the only K content platform in the market across America until now. So many trial were here before, but only Korea content Kocowa is survive here until now on. So we are only one still. If you look at the right side of the slide, the Kocowa performance, it is edges. So if you look at the graph, our growth trend is right that way. We are still growing up. The over 40% growth annually in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so every year. And also daily average view minute, 127 minutes, a daily basis, right? So it is not small. At least the audience enjoy 2 titles at least day. So it's not small. So we are, if you think about it, we are just one of the international service, but they spend around 2 hours to watch one of the international content. It's not small. So also we engage great partners in the market. So they bring, they deliver the Korea Kocowa package too.
Mm-hmm.
So we determine about the user profile occasionally. So if we look at the ethnic origin in US, so most of the people are non-Korean, over 90%. So that means we are very close to the common American household. So over 70% of the users are non-Asian descent. It's interesting, right? So over 85% of viewers are under 40 years of age. It's interesting, right? So that willing to pay period is longer than other side, I guess. So it's very good for company valuation too. Yeah. So last one. So we are really biased to gender. So 85% females enjoy Kocowa. The 15% of the male so enjoy the Kocowa too. So people think that it looks like ladies content platform. No, it's not true. If you look at the Parasite and Squid Game, so such genres are not biased to the female. I don't think so. But from my perspective, the male area is a kind of blue ocean to develop. So we still have some potential to grow up our business here. Okay, achievement again. So Kocowa, if you look at this diagram, so yeah, Kocowa is distributed to various ways. So we got some strong partner in the last 5 years. The Google TV, Roku, Comcast, On-Demand Korea, Jumo, Rakuten Viki, Cox Communication. So recently we engaged smart TV vendors, Samsung and LG. So yeah, so our goal is to distribute the Kocowa with our partner altogether. So want to make some Kocowa ecosystem in the market. Okay, how far K content has come. The mask singer. Everybody knows what mask singer is. Original is from Korea. So people got surprised. Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's Korean. Second one, ABC is Good Doctor. It is from the Korea too. So very interesting, right? So many people doesn't recognize. Many people don't recognize those are from Korea. Okay, K content is now a fundamental offering for all global major OTT services. So it's one of the mandatory portfolio to get some subscriber intention. Interesting. Kocowa can satisfy K content requirement as a portfolio add-on too. So we don't insist any of the exclusive model in the market. Our mission, my mission is to expand market. So that means I have to spread K content with Kocowa as fast as we can. Here's a contact. So our sponsor, Korea Creative Content Agency. So here's a contact, and here's our contact too. So let's look at it. And then,
awesome.
Yeah, let me wrap up this session with our commercial.
Okay.
Blackpink isn't a color. Kimchi has kick, and barbecue can be indoors. A kiss can be complicated, unexpected, desired, and stop time. You understand that rain is sad, but sometimes happy. You've learned not everything can be solved with a sword, and reality can be familiar and yet so different. And now you know where you can find all this and more. Kocowa, the ultimate destination for Korean entertainment.
Hey.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. KunHee, there's so much to unpack here. I've been taking notes, and I know we've done a couple prep calls getting ready for this, and I learned a lot more too. So just a couple of funny things. Blackpink is not a color. So I was driving in the car the other day, just kind of dancing to a song that was on my playlist, not dancing, but bopping to it. And it was a K-pop song. And I had no idea. I think it was that song, Ice Cream, Ice Cream. My kids are like, Dad, you like K-pop? I'm like, I didn't even know. So to your point that K content has become mainstream America, 100% agree. But what I think people don't realize is the potential here. And I think you've shown a path on sort of providing some level of process to this whole licensing and to this opportunity. You provided some order to what was somewhat chaotic before. So what I'd like to do is we have some other experts here that are going to join the conversation. And what I'd ask you to do is to please turn on your video here. We're going to pick up on some of the themes from the keynote conversation. There's Randy from Roku. Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going great.
Can you see and hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. Great lighting and everything. How about you, Chris?
Hello, guys. Chris Carey here.
Hi, Chris.
Awesome.
Hey, Chris.
Great. And
Hi, KunHee, Randy.
Rebecca from Comcast unfortunately could not make it, so apologize for that. But this is great. So with our remaining time, I'm just going to throw a few takeaways from KunHee's presentation, and you guys can jump in where you are. So 17,000 hours of content. That's a lot of content. We've got these major titles like Parasite, Squid Game. Everybody knows that, right? And so you're like, wow, okay. 90% of the viewers are not Korean. And a lot of this is subtitled content. So, or if not most of it. So there's a market here. There's a huge market, and it's younger people, it's females. We're touching all the demographics here. And I think what we heard is, this content, this opportunity's been here for a long time. And what Kocowa is doing is providing some order to licensing, to the platform, anti-piracy, all that support, user experience and stuff. I don't know. Where do you guys want to jump in? Randy, you go first. Where's the opportunity here? Why is it taking so long?
Well, it's funny because we launched Kocowa in the Roku channel, premium subscriptions on the Roku channel. It was actually, we just passed our 1-year anniversary. So it was late October of last year. And I like to say that we were ahead of the curve and we saw all this coming. I also feel like we were a little bit late to the game, even having launched over a year ago now. But I want to touch on a couple of reasons why we launched Kocowa. We have 50 plus services today where we're actually very particular about the type of SVODs that we bring into premium subscriptions. It's not just an open slate. There is an evaluation process. And what Kocowa did really well is one, Korean content was already sort of proven out ahead of time. We saw with Drama Fever, it was a successful service. It ended up getting shut down. We saw an opening in the market. It became a little bit fragmented, and we were really looking out and saying, well, who's going to sort of fill in this space? Who's going to come in and actually extend it and offer something more than just what Drama Fever did at the time? We looked at the library that Kocowa had, 17,000 plus hours. It's a very robust library of content, all high quality premium content. We loved the fact that there was next day content as well. So it would air in Korea, and the very next day it would be available within the service, which is sort of the gold standard when it comes to content. You really want to get the recency of content over. So we really love that. So it made a lot of sense. A second point that is really important is that they came from an extremely strong pedigree, right? If you saw KunHee's deck, you're talking about the 3 major broadcasters coming together. You see the support of SK Telecom, which is a massive company in Korea as well. I hear shades of Hulu when I hear about 3 major broadcasters, which we all know is extremely successful as a model today. And then and so that was great. And so the pedigree was there. We knew that they were robust, were sound. But then most importantly, or I should say equally as important, was the fact that they were an easy partner to work with. We looked at their backend, we looked at their content delivery capabilities, we looked at their platform. All their content was subtitled. It was easy to ingest. When you talk about premium subscriptions, this is a hosted model. They're delivering the content to us. We do the hosting, we do the streaming, we do the transcoding, but we also are very reliant on this delivery of content being smooth, being of high quality, being fast. And when you talk about a large library of content, there's risk that that delivery is slow and becomes more costly. We didn't experience any of those problems with Kocowa, so it became a really sort of easy evaluation to bring them on, and they've been a great partner for the last year.
That's awesome. So Chris, I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, hello, I'm Chris Carey. I'm the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Development for Iyuno-SDI. And we are, in the film and entertainment industry, the world's largest global localization service provider, doing dubbing, subtitling, access services, a variety of media services to essentially provide support to KunHee and his business to make sure that the quality of the localization, whether that's subtitles or dubs or the other ancillary services that go with it, are done in a timely fashion, to Randy's point, sometimes day of or next day off of air, to be able to deliver that. So it's great to see you guys.
Thank you for that introduction. Yeah. So, I mentioned in the intro here that the walls have come down from a licensing perspective, from an audience perspective, right? Sure. I was really surprised that 90% of the viewers are not Korean, but it's not just signing a contract, right? There's a lot of work here to localize the content, to make it available. Randy, you mentioned subtitle. There's a lot of trust involved with having a reliable partner with 17,000 hours. Chris, maybe you can talk to that. Like what work is required to kind of morph this content, make it presentable for a different geographic audience?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I do want to just back up 1 second and sort of reference the thing you said about what's the opportunity here and how big is it. The thing I really want to give a proper reference to is the fact that the Korean creative community has done a fantastic job of developing writers, actors, producers, ideas, and stories that are incredibly compelling. And so you have to start there. You've got a fantastic filmmaking and television making, producing community. The culture is a very creative culture that then gets access by the rest of the world through what KunHee's business does and Randy's business does and we do, which is making it accessible. And the consumer behaviors, which is maybe 10 years ago, subtitling, dub, I don't know. I like to watch it in my original version language, whatever that is, wherever you are in the world. But increasingly now, consumers have become quite comfortable with the fact that they're looking at a production that is not in their language, native language, and they're seeing a high quality subtitle if that's their preference, or they're hearing a really well done dub. Now, in both of those cases, those are not easy processes. Certainly, that's the art and the craft and the science of what our company does is to really find a way to most effectively. And there's many technical processes to it, and there's many steps. It isn't just a linguist taking a word and translating it to another word. That's been done for many years, and we're now introducing technology in the way of AI and machine translation that can help that. But it is still a very multi-step creative process. Even subtitling goes through a production process that has criteria. The subtitle has to fit the screen, it has to be on so it's readable, it has to be in a certain technical format, it has to keep pace with the audience. In many cases, a language, when you're translating to another language, the simple time it takes to articulate a notion is very different. Idioms are not repeatable. In many cases, what a 3-word little phrase means in Korean is really hard to turn into something that means identically that in English or French or German. So that's the art part of it, is there's a whole adaptation part, that it isn't just a literal translation. It's a notional translation. The intent, the spirit, the heart of what was being told or said has to be handled. And then in the dubbing side of it, it's the same thing. We have to do adaptation of the script to get words that fit the voice that you see, the lip movement that you see, which can in many cases, a multi-syllable word in Mandarin might be a 3-syllable word in English or French or vice versa. So you have to find a way to make all that fit. And as I said, it's a many-step creative process that we work on. Biggest thing that we do nowadays with KunHee's business and all of the businesses we're involved in is get involved early and be more a part of the planning process. Nowadays, we find even productions are thinking about, hey, this is going to have a multi-language release. So let's talk to the linguistic teams early and think
in
about
advance.
The way we might write the script, the way we might cut it, the way we might need to localize the editing, because there is a censorship matter that depending on where it was produced, what's culturally acceptable, what's violence, what's not violence, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, means that there's a lot to localization beyond a simple word for word correction and translation.
So Chris, kudos to you, and good to point out, it starts with the creative community.
Absolutely.
I think you nailed that on the head. And KunHee, I want to go back to you because I think that's really interesting. And I don't think I didn't know that The Masked Singer originated in Korea or The Good Doctor. So what is it about the Korean community that's, is it a matter of just fostering it, and there's investment going on here for a long period of time, and these partnerships that's coming out with, these blockbusters either on their own or being replicated in other geographies? Can you speak to that, KunHee?
Yeah, also how to say, okay. Okay, so as I told you in the presentation, so, we were ready, so we collected a lot of the user experience in the market. But the trouble was, it's not, such, how to say, we didn't have any big hit in the public. So that's why, so the common US household don't recognize what Korean content is exactly. So, but the here world, it has been huge pandemic before. The US, the United States is not small country, so here, how to say, diversity. So many people enjoy different things. So like, Japanese animation, there are some, it's a huge pandemic too, right? It has just some its own industries too. But as you like, some previous Japanese animation, so we got, several hits here. Then, people recognize what it is. Oh, that's Korean content. Oh, that's, interesting. Then, then, they try to find, what it is exactly. Then they could know that, oh, Master Singer is Korean. Then they try to find some original one. Oh, that's original. Kocowa, they play out the original one. The Good Doctor too. It's now, I don't know what season is right now, maybe season 6 in ABC. So season 6 is not, a small, program, right? So it's very popular. So wow, interesting. Who's the writer, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when does it make sense to take the original versus to completely, redo it? My kids love The Office, for instance, and they discovered, hey, like, look, the British are copying us. I'm like, no, that's the original.
No,
we're copying them, so it's just
right, I like that, so then, so the many people try to find who's the writer. Oh, writer is, typically there's a American writer, but there's some awkward name, Park Kim, something like that. Oh, who is that? It's Korean. That they are Korean. Oh, Korean. Why? Then finally, so many people recognize that. Oh, that's Korean drama. I didn't know that. It brought a lot of the interesting to the Kocowa. So
well,
right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the cat's out of the bag, that expression, after Squid Game and Parasite and, in this conversation, the doors are open, right? To do business. what does that process look like? And, Randy, I'll jump back to you. So what does that partnership look like? If I was if I was a streamer, or if I was a major channel, whatever, and I wanted to go engage and source this content, not just from Korea, but I'm thinking the larger lessons here. What does that process look like?
Yeah, it's a lot of pounding the ground, right? At the end of the day, even though we live in a world full of technology, at the end of the day, it's really going out there and talking to everyone and understanding. Everyone has a different story to tell in terms of their service, their content, where it's sourced from, how it's being delivered, how often they refresh the library. These are all big things that we look at when we evaluate a service. And especially when it comes to something that is a little bit more risky in terms of, early on, and I don't consider it risky anymore, but at the time, we only had one other foreign language SVOD or non-English SVOD on the service, and it was Spanish, which everyone's always like, okay, it's the US, Spanish makes a ton of sense. And there are certain things from a technical standpoint that you need to make available on your platform in order to support non-English languages. And so we had that foundation, and then it becomes less about those technical challenges for us. It becomes more about the quality of the content and where do we get that quality of content and how do we bring it in. And so now we open it up to all sorts of different, in terms of evaluation of all sorts of different foreign content or non-English speaking content. And we're open to any of it now that we have those capabilities in hand. But again, it's hard to find that right mix of strong pedigree, premium content with a high refresh rate. You want the delivery to be easy. You want all that content. Chris went into some great detail about the art of proper dubbing and subtitling. These are all things that we actually physically, eyes on glass, look at the content, and, check out the production value of that content. These are all things that are really important, especially if you're exposing new audiences to this content for the first time. You can't make the assumption that the majority of our 50 plus million active accounts have seen Korean content before. So how do you make it an appealing, easy first impression and first experience? You need beautiful art, right? The assets need to be beautiful. You need to capture them, get them to click into that image, and then from the get-go, is the production quality there, and that's even before you get to the storyline. And then does the story grab you? And I think that at the end of the day, good content is good content. When you think about, we talked a lot about K-drama as a category. There are actually categories that are equally, if not more popular, which is thriller categories, romance and romantic comedies. Romantic comedies is a massive category for Korean sourced content. And so we love that it's not just drama. There's reality TV, there's game show formats. Sure. This is the diversity of genres that are now available to first expose a user for the first time is it's a great setup for us. And so that's what we're looking for with other SVODs that we want to bring in, especially non-English content. Like, do they have that diverse range? Do they have that premium content? Are they a good partner to bring in? But yeah, we're always looking. So feel free to reach out.
All right, great. So it's interesting because it must really throw your sort of recommendation engine sort of through a loop, right? Because you can't just assume someone doesn't, speak Korean, they may not want subtitled content, right? Sometimes you want to take them on a journey and discover something interesting and new, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure our ML engineers are, they're not too happy with me when we bring in 70,000 hours of. But I will say that the genre component of it, right? That's a signal we look at. That you need to pull in the signals that make sense, and genre is a big one. I will also say that subtitling is that, I think that's actually one of the bigger hurdles for the broader audience, right? It's like, it's not uncommon for a friend of a friend to be like, oh, I haven't seen that yet because I wasn't ready to see something with subtitles, because in their mind, it actually takes more effort for whatever reason than just a pure lean back experience. And maybe it does, but I think we're sort of overcoming that hurdle, right? I think examples of Parasite, Squid Game, these are, another great example is Narcos. Like, I watched the full first season of Narcos, and didn't even realize I was reading subtitles, or half of it was in Spanish and half of it was English, because you're just so engrossed.
You're in
and
the
there's
show.
more Spanish subtitling in that first season than there is of English speakers, but you didn't feel like you watched a foreign language film. And so I think when you get immersed in the story, you quickly forget all of that, and I think it's a hurdle people are starting to overcome.
So Chris, this is interesting. So, dubbing versus subtitling.
Yeah.
Do you have any data or like any trends there in terms of what user preferences are and how that might have evolved?
Yeah. Well, it has certainly evolved. Again, I think it really depends a little bit on who you are as a consumer behavior side of this, right? Is that perhaps as you get older and as you perhaps are a more entertainment centric person, you may say to yourself, no, I'm very happy to hear the original actor's voice. I like that, and I'm happy to read a subtitle. When you think about the younger generation, who are typically at least one or two devices on the left and the right hand, as well as a screen up in front of them or what have you, and they're multitasking, it is, as you said, Randy, those people are the ones that might react to, I'm not ready to watch subtitles because I can't multitask. I can't, make dinner or, chat with my girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, while watching a show because it's not auditory. So we do find that engagement, like for like, engagement is higher for a dubbed show than it is for a subtitle, but it really is a broad generalization I make, and it really depends on the genre and therefore who that target audience is. There are shows that reach an audience where subtitles are overwhelmingly the preferred version. But then there are other shows where, again, with maybe perhaps a broader audience, you'll find that a dub will retain the engagement longer. It's a more expensive and time-consuming process, so it's something that KunHee and Randy have to think about in the commercial aspects of it, because we'll have to take more time to get that ready and prepared. But it is a more sort of lean back experience to watch a dubbed show, and a bit more of a leaned forward experience to watch a subtitled show. So we do see that is a trend that's happening. And increasingly, I'll tell you, we just finished a show for a production company that's releasing now an animated show. We did 26 languages of dubbing.
Wow.
Which is quite substantial. I mean, there are big companies that have been doing that, the Disneys and the Netflixes for some time, but we're now increasingly finding other production companies are starting to say, you know what, I really want to dub this in many, many languages so that I can get a deeper reach and as I said, a little bit more passive lean back experience.
Yeah.
So real quick, Randy, on that, and I'm not familiar, but is the content you ingest, is it required to be available in both dubbed and subtitled, or can you have
no, either or is fine. We're focused on subtitling, actually, is okay. the experience that we're really set up for. Dubbing is obvious, it's just the audio track, so it doesn't really impact anything for us. But it was the subtitling and making sure that we were able to manage that properly.
Okay. Yeah. I got a bunch of questions here, and we could spend hours on this conversation. There's so many lessons to take away here, but let's go back to the K-dramas, because we talked about the creative community in Korea, but there's something universal about the rom-coms and so on. And I guess the question is, how do these dramas translate to the American audience in terms of their reception? Is there anything what resonates there? And do you really even have to think about it too much? Maybe KunHee, maybe you can start with that.
Okay, so how to say? Okay, so yeah, so you guys got the Randy and Chris got very good point. So from beginning of our business, there is no subscription model at all. There is so many people really negative that some subtitling because of so they believe that this territory some the international content should be dubbed as Spanish. Otherwise so business approach will be failed. So what's their recommendation? So everybody recommend me some advertisement based business model, but the first thing I have to do was collect such kind of title at once together. But the trouble was, there is a lot of the piracy service here. Then, that I have to have some very, quick, the localization delivery. So
Right.
the after airing time, so we have to translate everything and localize everything within 12 hours. Then, we deliver such, content to the market properly. Then, so we can make some, packaging for the subscription. That's one of the business model. Then, we brought such kind of experience. Then, it helped, the people get into the, genre more. So we start from the, such kind of romantic comedy in the beginning. Then they fall in love, and then, they enjoy the such, high quality localization, deliverable. Then we try to put the, more genre in the, our, service, something like, sci-fi and thriller and action, so etc. Try to, so try to make them to explore some more genre in the Korean, some entertainment. So recently, they recognize that, variety, Korean variety is something special. It used to be not in here before. So such genre was not here, but they really enjoy that, such kind of, brand new title, a brand new genre. So then, they explore something more in the, Kocowa recently.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's the correct answer or not. So
no, I mean, I think the point that was made is that there's something universal about these stories where once you get into the story, you're not thinking about subtitles or anything. You just want to see where the story goes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, I think it points to the refreshing of that content or that storyline on a daily basis. You saw the popularity of soap operas in the early days. You see telenovelas and the popularity that's there. K-dramas fall into that same category where you're taking interesting characters, and a baseline, universal or globally appealing storyline, and that everyone can relate to in some way, and then you get this high refresh of content coming in on a daily basis of just and a deep library of that content. It's very easy to then go into a binging frenzy of a specific K-drama that's been around for years and years, and then get caught up and fall into that. And so it's that that binging behavior in Korea and among Korean Americans and viewers of Korean drama content is huge. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, there were all video stores in Koreatown, and they were one of the most popular places to go. My parents would go every week and buy rent bags full of these VHS tapes to binge, the early days of binging. And now that's all available in a streaming format. Makes it very easy, broadly accessible globally, and which I think is great. And I actually think people ask about Squid Game and that suddenly became popular, and I actually believe that there are others that already exist today, other Korean content
that are just
series. Yeah, they just haven't been discovered broadly, but that are just as good or better than Squid Game, and so it's just a matter of time.
So that was my next question. You stole my thunder. So how are we going to find the next Squid Game? Is it just trial and error, or you got enough 17,000 hours? Well, there's bound to be another Squid Game in there, right?
Yeah, I think the thing we all have to recognize is what's happened in the last 5 to 7 years. And really also, by the way, accelerated by the COVID pandemic that we've lived in, is that the voracious appetite of consumers to be able to watch entertainment. There's a little bit more spare time available for many people, and they can't go to the theater, so they're taking that time and they're consuming. The over the top, the very title of your conference here, I'm not sure there is an under the top anymore, right? The globalization and democratization of content through the internet streaming services that Kocowa is one of, and the sort of dropping of the gatekeeper barriers that a pay TV operator is the only way you can watch on-demand content in a given market is no longer exists. So if you have a credit card and an internet connection, you can find content and you can stream it from all manner of production companies or distribution companies. And so we've unlocked the ability for discovery to happen. And so yeah, Squid Games wasn't actually the first most compelling, exciting program to come out of Korea. There's been many before. They just haven't been found. A, because they weren't accessed through a distribution platform that gave them to a global audience, and B, because perhaps they weren't available localized as well, so that they couldn't, really be understood. So now that we've sort of dropped those barriers, the over-the-top experience is now absolutely ubiquitous. The localization is now a part of the supply chain. Nobody thinks about making a show anymore without some kind of localization, right? Now it's a question of how many languages do we sub, do we dub? And now I think the discovery question, Randy, you're touching on it, KunHee, same thing. It's a little bit more now about finding the content you want through recommendation and experience, but it's a lot easier now than it was a few years ago, right? You might need to do a little bit of search as a consumer, but increasingly through aggregation platforms, you can find it. So it's a pretty exciting time, and boy, the business is growing tremendously for all of us.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we're running low on time here, but what I want to do is just go around the horn with sort of a future-looking prediction. It was interesting that you mentioned that Netflix has been in this market for a while. There's a reverse strategy here too, right? Which is Korea is a stepping stone to China and Japan. I thought that was really interesting. But if you could each give one forward-looking prediction on where this market's going, either from a OTT platform perspective, or from a consumer behavior perspective. And, for the benefit of our attendees, and we'll have another 1,000 people watching the VOD for this little session here later on, look in your crystal ball, tell us what the major takeaway is here and what the future is. Again, you can choose either from the platform or from consumer behavior. And Randy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this is just the start of so many more sort of global SVODs coming into play. This is Spanish language was sort of the tip of the iceberg. Korean content was second, but I think we're going to start to see this influx of services coming across globally with so many different countries and cultures being able to offer unique stories and global stories that have mass appeal. And so, I'm excited for the future as you're seeing major, SVODs in the market starting to move globally extremely quickly in terms of their distribution. They're also sourcing and looking for local content in those international markets, and then bringing that back in. And so that spreading and that distribution all across the globe is only going to accelerate. So I'm excited to see lots of other services coming on board that are non-English native, local gems. And I'll make another prediction. I think the next Squid Game is actually within Kocowa somewhere, and so it's going to be my job to try to find it and blow it up. And so I said it here first.
All right, good. Well, we're going to follow up with you next year and see if that happened. Chris, you're next.
That's fantastic. Well, I think what we're going to see is a massive explosion. I said this much earlier in the conversation, and it's something that's kind of near to me. The creative communities are exploding. What this has created opportunity for filmmakers and writers and directors and people who are telling stories to find audiences like they never could before. So I think what you're going to see is a massive growth in the creative communities, not only in Korea, which is currently already very vibrant and healthy, and we can see that, but across the globe, we're going to see a great deal of programs and a little bit on the sort of human side of this thing as a population. I think it's great because we all get to see and understand different cultures, and to some degree, foreign cultures, and foreign means less than it did some years ago. And so I predict that there's a great deal more synergy in terms of, people understanding different cultures and having a chance to experience them through storytelling.
Yeah, and so it's nice. There's a larger theme here, which is we're one big happy planet, and people kind of coming together too. So I love that. So KunHee, you get last word here. What's your big prediction for the future?
Okay, so I'm thinking, we are still in the beginning of the business, so it's a great time to trigger our business growth. So I appreciate Netflix opened the door to buy the Squid Game, but they help us a lot to grow user experience for the Korean content. but it's only 5% their content, right? So Kocowa has future of the K content. We have bunch of the library. So also, how to say, we add, 300 new hours of the content each month. So we are, some most strongest distributor, our shareholder. They produce a lot of the tons of the content every day. So we will bring such kind of variety genre and the various genre to the US audience. Especially, we hope to be familiar to the US household, because of most of the Korean contents are not, violent. So very friendly to family. So it says about, romantic and love all together. So based on such kind of, the idea approach, then, so we try to expand some kind of diversity. So we try to introduce such kind of, international experience to the US audience and household together. So
Awesome.
to be, together. So that's
Awesome.
my desire.
That's great. We're going to have to end it here. As I said, we've got 1,300 attendees. Most will watch the VOD on this. And when you get to that slide where KunHee showed his contact information, so are you willing to take calls if people are looking for Korean K content, KunHee?
Yes.
All right. You can pause on that slide and you'll see his email there. Thank you, gentlemen. Fantastic conversation. As I said, we could talk for hours on this, and there's a lot of lessons to learn, but we do need to move on. So thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Everyone. Thank
Take
you so
care,
much.
everyone.
All right. Great job, everybody. We're